Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today is day 2 of the Southfield 3-day festival. Yesterday was a very interesting day, very tiring I must admit, but I did manage to win my section, so I'm going into today with 1 point with one of the leaders, which is great. So today is all about bream fishing. I'm heading off to the first zone today, so I could draw in the 20s on the long east bank, or I could actually be over in the woods. It fished hard yesterday, just £11 won the match yesterday, so as you can imagine, everybody's in it right until the last cast. You know, there were some people that didn't catch while the last few minutes yesterday, and we're expecting it being similar to that today. It's not as windy today, but no matter what the target weight, the key for me today is to get another section win.
Go on, Jim.
Morning, mate.
Morning.
Morning. Let's have a good. Oh,
you in?
Number 3, well done.
Platform. I even got a platform.
10.
Got to have that one. Mick, Jamie Harrison, number 10.
Well drawn, Jamie.
Platform
You're
peg.
on the scales, mate,
All right.
but somebody's already took them.
So I don't need to wait for anything.
No, mate.
Thank you very much, mate. Cheers, mate.
Have a good one.
Thank you. Well, don't think I've ever fished that peg before. Now the wind was blowing into that corner yesterday, and that peg was 5th overall in the match with £7.8, so not a big weight. I had £7.1 yesterday, so obviously not much more than what I had, but it has got a platform, which is good. It's the only peg in the woods that's got a platform, so that's good. And I think you have to cast a little bit left, so you're not casting up the split, but I'm going to get the barrel loaded up and I'll see you over there. There we go, peg 10. The only one over here with a platform, which is going to make it much more comfortable. Literally just pleasure fishing. This is the one, that's the peg that goes into the corner there, and that's the split going up there. Now, I think peg 9, the next peg there, won the match yesterday. I think that was the peg where Jim Evans was, but that was only with £11. This peg produced £7.8, I think it was. That was 5th in the match. Really low weights. However, yesterday, for those of you that watched that live match film, will have seen how windy it was yesterday. It was very windy. I was over there on the long bank, on the east bank, and the wind was blowing down into here yesterday, and I think it had been doing the previous day, and that's the first thing that I'm very aware of. There isn't any wind blowing whatsoever. As you can see, it's absolutely flat calm. I would have preferred if you know that wind blowing down here, I'll be absolutely honest, just for confidence really. So yeah, it's a flat calm res. I think it's going to be a simple approach, 2-line approach. I think I'm just going to do something very similar to what I did yesterday, and I am going to have to put a long line in anyway. I was hoping there was going to be some wind blowing down here, but purely because it's you know, it's flat calm like it is, it's not very deep, it's only 3-4 feet deep maximum. I'm going to have to put a long line in, so I'm going to get some gear set up. It shouldn't take me too long on this lovely comfortable platform, and then I'll talk you through the approach. Well, the conditions are very different from yesterday, aren't they? It's absolutely flat calm here, as you can see, but the wind is actually blowing out. The wind's hitting it, the ripple's hitting it at 100 metres plus out there, so the wind is actually off our backs here. I'm hoping that's going to change. Ideally, I wanted it blowing into this corner, but there's nothing I can do. I'm all set up now, so I've got 3 rods set up. I'll just quickly go through this for you, just to answer lots and lots of your questions. The reels are all the same. They're all HX Pro reels. I've got a 3000. Is that a 3 or a 4? Might be a 4. That one. Is it a 4? 3000. I've got 3000, 5000, and a 6000 set up. Okay, so 11, 12, 13 foot. Simple as that. These are the Horizon Ultra Pro, the new rods. 11 foot, 12 foot, and 13 foot. My 11 foot rod there is the one that I'm going to be using on my shorter line. So that is going to be 25 meters, so that's my short line today. It just feels about right. It is a little bit rocky over this side. It's not as silty and as soft as it is over in where I was yesterday, so the bottom's much harder here, you know, and it can be quite rocky. So I found a spot at 25 metres on the 11-foot rod. And then my longest line is where I'm going to be using the 12-foot, that is 50 metres, exactly 50 metres. Again, it's a really hard bottom out there, you know, it is quite stony. I wouldn't say there were rocks, but quite stony, so I've got a line at 50 metres. And then I've got a 13-foot rod set up there. That rod is also clipped up on the 6000 reel. That is clipped up at 50 metres as well. However, that rod is just there in case the conditions change and it's difficult for me to reach that 50 metre range if the wind gets bad or anything like that. It's not forecast to, but that 13-foot rod also gives me the option to, if I can take the clip off, if I'm in desperate need and I feel the need to find a fish, then I can obviously launch that much further past that 50 metre mark. If I just want to fire a feeder out there into that open water just to go looking for a fish, but I'm obviously hoping I don't have to resort to that because I want to catch on the 25 and the 50 metre line. Sticking my neck out, I think the 50 metre line is going to be the line to focus on. So I'm going to be starting on that line, but I will be feeding the 25 metre line to start with. So bait wise, very, very simple, as you can imagine. I've got, that's obviously just water there for wetting my braid and over wetting my ground bait. The ground bait today is just F1 green, same as I used yesterday. I've got some dead reds in there. In here, I've got some live pinkies. There we go, that I had in the fridge. That is obviously where my chopped worm's going to go. In here, I've got some lovely red worms, which, as we all know, can be fantastic for bream. Didn't catch too many on them yesterday, but yesterday, one of the problems that I had yesterday with red worm was that because it was so windy yesterday, I was having to punch that feeder to 50 metres. The red worms wouldn't stay on, they were coming off on the cast, so that's one of the reasons why I couldn't fish with them as much as I wanted to yesterday. And then in here, I've just got some worms in here ready for chopping. I'm just going to skim off all that rubbish. I can put them in the landing net, wash them off again before I chop them, just so I can chop them and pop them in there. And then I've got plenty of worms and things for the hook as well, as you can imagine. So that's it. I'm going to feed the 25 metre line and the 50 metre line at the start, but I am going to start on that 50 metre line. I think I'm going to stay quite positive in the sense that, you know, I'm going to fish a size 14 hook to start with, the finesse feeder hook, which I used yesterday, and 0.14 soft steel hook length. Because it is quite rocky here, it is quite stony in areas. I don't like to have a hook length on that's too brittle or too fine, just for that reason. And I'm going to start at 50 metres and just time my casts. The one thing I'm not going to get is information on here, unlike where I was yesterday over on the other side. I'm not going to be able to see what's happening. Perhaps if there's one or two anglers shouting to each other, I might get an idea of what's been caught. Other than that, as you can see, I'm just pleasure fishing. That's the beauty of fishing over here in the woods. And that's it. I can't really say any more than that. It's all about the section point. If you're new to this competition, it's based on section points. So this is day 2 of the competition. If you win your section, you get 1 point. So the lowest score over the 3 days will be the winner. And so I just want to win my section. I don't care whether it's going to take £5 or £25. It's all about the section win. But as was proven yesterday, even though the weight was only £11 that Jim had, who won the match, over here there's every chance that any of these pegs can actually win the match outright today. But like I say, the main focus is just to win the section. I'm seeing the odd small fish topping, those little ones. Now, if you saw yesterday's match, they weren't a problem yesterday for where we were over there. They just weren't over there yesterday. You could fish a single, double pinky, single maggot, and it wasn't an issue. However, I have heard this morning that those small fish were a problem over here yesterday. So that might determine what hook baits I can and can't use. You know, I might not be able to put double pinky on or maggot or anything like that, because those little tiny roach might be attacking it if they're still there. Good luck, lads. I have seen 1 or 2 topping, I'll be honest. So there are obviously some out there, but that's something I can, you know, think about once I'm actually fishing. So I'm going to put three feederfuls out on my long line, and that is the line that I'm going to be starting on as well. So bang on 50 metres. The next one I'm going to put some bait in. So I've got some big blob of worm there. I'm going to put a few dead reds in there as well. And that's it. That's all I'm going to feed out there. I'm not putting any pinkies out there. If those small fish are an issue or a problem, then I don't really want to be attracting those fish that hopefully there are going to be some skimmers out there. Like I said, there was £7 off this peg yesterday, £11 off the next peg. But I'm led to believe that a very large percentage of the fish that were caught yesterday, not only over here but over there, were caught in that last half hour. So again, it's going to be one of those matches that goes right to the very last cast. Just going to empty that one straight away. I'll put one more in with some worms in, and then that's it. I'm going to feed that 25-metre line. One more with a blob of worm in. I don't put too much in because if it is going to be really hard like it was yesterday, I don't want to overfeed, especially right at the outset. No wind at all today to contend with. Very different conditions from yesterday. Angler at the next peg looks like he's fishing a similar range. So that's that now. I'm going to leave that line now just while I feed my short line. I don't really know what to do with the short line feeding wise. I don't really want to go piling loads and loads of bait in because I might not be going on it for an hour or two. See what happens. But I am going to put some bait in on it. Similar to yesterday, I'm going to feed it more of like as an impact. So in other words, I'm going to be probably feeding this line about 20 minutes before I actually plan on going on it, if that makes sense. Because if there are small fish there, then those fish are going to be eating a lot of the freebies I'm putting in. So they could easily have eaten everything before I even go on this line, if I'm going to leave it a while before I go on it. Whereas if I feed it just before I go on it, then I can be pretty sure that there is some bait there, or at least if any fish have gone straight to it, then those fish are still going to be there. I'm just going to put two more in on this line with bait in. The first one was just ground bait. This one's got some worms in there and dead red maggots. You can probably tell that this line is slightly offset to the right, so I'm not bringing my feeder back through that line when I'm fishing my long line. Something I always like to think about, especially on such shallow venues as well, especially when they're flat calm. This is the last one I'm putting in on this line. I'm expecting the long line being the best line, I'll be honest with you, but this line you've got to keep it alive. You know, fish can turn up on this short line, especially late on. I will be keeping this line alive all day, even if I don't really think it's going to kick in, but it is somewhere I can go if I just want to rest that long line. You know, even if the long line is the better line, I can obviously pick that rod up and fish with that for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, while I'm resting the long line. Pop that hook length on now. There's a 50cm hook length rule here, but this hook length's slightly longer than that because I am actually using a helicopter rig. I'm just going to put a blob of worm in on this first cast. These first few casts can be the ones that give you an idea of, you know, if there are small fish out there, if they're going to be a problem. I will be timing my casts to start with. If there are small fish out there and it looks like they're going to be a problem, then I might not leave it as long as that. Sometimes you don't know if you sat there with your bait being bust, you know. So like I say, unless the anglers are talking and I can hear them, I'm not going to have any idea about what has been caught, really. And that's it. I'm going to give this 10 minutes. The plan is to have 2 or 3 10-minute casts out there and then just get a feel for, you know, what the fishing might potentially be like. See if I can hear anything, what's happening. And then at that stage I'll decide whether I'm going to continue out there or whether I'm going to come off that line and give it a rest. That's about it. Oh, definite indication that's on, nothing there. Perhaps those are those little... Maybe that diver's just come up there. That could have gone across the line. But I don't think that's what it was. I think that was a little fish. I think that was a small fish having a go at the bait. A definite indication. We're off the mark, we haven't blanked anyway. Well, I've just had a 1 ounce roach. So obviously it's showing that there are some small fish out there. I've just cast out there and I've been out there less than a minute. Someone's gone straight to it. This is a slightly bigger fish, this one. I'm not hearing anything about how it's fishing at the minute from the lads to my left. I've been fishing half an hour now, so at least I'm getting some indications. Yes. Well, that's brilliant, isn't it? Much better early period than yesterday. Well, that's encouraging, isn't it? Get on so early. Like I say, there were quite a few blanks yesterday all over the res. And I've just been told that the first section, the section to my left, was one with £2 yesterday. That's really encouraging. Especially a quick bite time as well. So I was only out there, well, it was just, I think it had been in there a minute when I got that bite. Just a little flicker, that's all it was, but it was on. I strongly suspected it was going to be another one of those little, I'll see that again. So, it's a little roach, I bet. It is. See, these aren't the fish that I'm after, but at this stage I'm quite happy to just keep putting fish in the net, even if they're only 1 and 2 ounce fish. I think sometimes just the fact that you're in and out all the time with the feeder, I think that can help draw other fish in. So these are the fish that we didn't catch yesterday. You know, these little fish are not over there in that main part of the lake at the moment. Well, they were there, but they've gone now, or it seems like they've gone, but they certainly didn't feed yesterday. Keep a little bit of worm going in. The odd cast I'll put a few dead reds in as well. And that's it, that's all I'm going to feed out there. I'm not going to feed any pinkies today. Whilst I don't mind catching those 1 2 ounce roach at this stage, I don't really want to go feeding pinkies and encouraging them, you know. I don't want to be fishing for them at 50 metres. So I'm going to stick on this line, as you can imagine now. Just stay out there, just catch what I can out there. See if I can pick up a bonus, see if I continue getting bites. See, that's another indication. Yeah, just look like a little roach rattle, but if I'm going to put a bigger bait on and be more selective, then that's something that I'll do. But at this stage, I just kind of, as you've just seen, that skimmer I've just had, that was on the same hook bait. Just a little bit of worm, same bait that I caught the roach on. So at this stage, I just want to just gauge what fish are out there at the moment. Because that skimmer was in the middle of the roach, wasn't it? Straight after I caught a roach, so maybe they are swimming together. If the roach are there, you know, maybe the skimmers are there as well. Not the target species or stamp. Just been trying to fish with a slightly bigger hook bait, just trying to be a little bit more selective, because there are little tiny fish there. They're attacking the bait, but I haven't seen any other signs of another skimmer yet. We'll keep going, that's all we can keep doing, sticking out there on this line, because at least I'm getting some indications. Just play the percentages game at the minute, just catch whatever's there and hope that, as well as those little fish, that we might pick up 1 or 2 net fish as well. Well, we've been fishing 90 minutes and I've just seen the lad at the next peg net a bream. He netted it quite a long way out so I could see through the trees, but I'm sure he's got at least a couple more. I don't know how big the others are, so I need to change. This is obviously a welcome skimmer, so I think I'm going to need to change. I mean, that's the only second skimmer that I've had, albeit very, very welcome. But one of the bream I've just seen him catch must be up to £3. I don't know how big the others are. So what I'm going to do is, we've been fishing 90 minutes. I'm going to leave this slightly larger hook bait on. It's just in fact, I'll just put a fresh one on. Just fishing a piece of worm at the minute, purely because it's withstanding all the attentions of those little tiny roach. Even when I'm getting little indications, I can leave it. But I'm going to step up the loose feed a bit now. I'm not going to just crash loads of bait in at the minute, but I'm going to step up the amount of bait I'm putting in, because I'm hoping obviously that they're going to move, and they might even be in front of me, but I haven't seen any sort of signs of bigger fish, you know, no liners or anything like that. So I'm sure he's probably got 3. I'm sure he has. He might have more. So I'm going to up the feed now. I'm not going to change to a bigger feed or anything just yet. You know, sometimes it might be a good idea to just bang some bait in now. You know, put 3, 4, 5 feederfuls out there, but I don't want to do that, because if they're not going to come to me, I might just completely ruin the swim and not catch anything. You know, I'm nowhere near his weight at the minute, but obviously, you know, I might be see, that was an indication there. There's still lots of little fish out there. I'm trying not to pick up on everything, but you see, if I'm not going to beat his weight, then I might have to fish for second in the section, which I don't. Obviously, I'd rather be first, but I just don't want to go piling loads of bait in now, chasing, trying to beat what he's got and try and draw the fish, because they might not come to me. So all I'm going to do is just gradually start feeding more through the feeder, more loose feed, more worm and more maggots, and just see what reaction that gets. I've got some red worms, so and some full dendras here that I can try on the hook, big baits, more selective baits, and I'm going to do it that way rather than just pile loads of bait in. We've only been fishing 90 minutes, and those fish could naturally move to me anyway. As you can probably tell, that breeze has actually, at the minute, has changed more. It's blowing more into this corner now. I know it's not particularly strong, but the ripples are coming in, and that could obviously help those fish move to me if they're not already out there in front of me. So all I'm going to do is just keep fishing where I am now, 50 metres. I think he's caught them long. I'm not sure because I can't see him, but I'm going to increase the freebies now and just see what reaction I get from that. And as you can see, there are lots and lots of those out there. You what, sorry? Oh, on there. Oh, them roach. Right, I've just seen him get a bream. Oh. He's got more than one though, hasn't he? Two. Oh, it looked bigger, right. I've just had another skimmer, but no. 12, 14 ounce, yeah. But it's all right. There's a bit of breeze on it now. It was like wind were blowing out, and it were hitting it out there at 150 metres, but there's that ripple's coming in a bit now, isn't it? Yeah, it can only help, can't it? As you can see, that wind's dropped again. I was hoping it was going to keep blowing and get stronger into this corner, but it's dropped again now, so that's not going to happen. It's I've still got getting the odd pluck. Just obviously, I'm assuming they're those little roach. There are nowhere near as many as those little roach there as there was earlier. Nowhere near as many, but I am still getting the odd, just single pluck, as though they're having a go at the bait. And I've just got 3 skimmers. You know, they're all under £1, and I've actually heard the lads talking down there. The lad on my left, he says he's got about £2.5. I thought he'd got more than that. His last fish was about 2.5, he says, and then he's got another skimmer to go with it. The lad next to him's got 4 skimmers, but he says they're all small. But then I've heard the lads in the middle, someone's caught there. It sounds like he's got probably 6 skimmers and a bream. It's a more positive pull, that one, but So I'm pretty sure that one of those lads down there is definitely in my section. So the lad next to me here, he's got more weight than me, and definitely the lad who further down. So what I'm going to do is, I'm still obviously fishing out at 50 metres, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my short line. I'm just going to feed it and have a look on it for two things. Obviously, one, I might pick up a fish, but the other reason as well is it's going to give this long line a bit of a rest, you know, where I hopefully might have another run of fish or catch another fish when I return to it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to give this 25 metre line a hit of worms and a few maggots, not many maggots, and I'm going to give it about 15-20 minutes, something like that, and then I'm going to have a look on it. It's really shallow there, so I've only really lightly squeezed that ground bait in, and this is 25 metres, which is there. So it is 10 past 1 now. In fact, I'm going to set my stopwatch. There we go. So I'm going to give that 15-20 minutes, and then I'm going to cast over the top of it with a little feeder on, nice and discreet. See if we can pick up a fish. I haven't seen a sign or any signs of bigger fish on this long line. You know, I haven't had any big liners or anything like that. But I might, you never know what I might find on that 25 metre line. Just putting a little blob of worm in each cast on this long line, varying the consistency of the ground bait as we do. Keep changing the feeders, but if I don't catch anything, then I'm going to have a look on that short line. See, that wind's completely dropped now. Pop that there. Set my stopwatch so I know how long it is since I've fed the that short line. I need a bream, or I need a run of skimmers. That's what I need. They may come if I keep doing what I'm doing, just like yesterday. You know, yesterday I really spent the majority of my time on the 50 metre line and just nice and patient and fished it that way. However, it is different over here. It feels different today. You know, it feels as though there are more fish down there at the minute, or more fish feeding. That's the only trouble here when you're in a bit of a corner. But you know, things can change, they can find it. I'm sure I'm going to get a visit on this 50 metre line at some stage, either by a number of skimmers like I did yesterday in that last hour, or by one or two bream. But I at least want to give that short line a chance. I've got it there set up and ready to go. Sometimes you'll cast on that, you'll get one first chuck, you know, but like I say, even if I don't catch on it, it's going to enable me just to rest this long line. Well, that's been 15 minutes now since I fed that shorter line. Still keep hearing the odd fish getting caught to the left. I'm just going absolutely nowhere now. I'm going to have a look on that 25 metre line just to see if I can find anything, but obviously that'll give me a chance to rest this long line. I don't really know where a fish is going to come from at the minute. I feel quite confident that on that 50 metre line that I might get a visit, but I don't know when it's going to be. You know, it might be the last 15 minutes, which is going to be way too late. Because if those people that are catching one or two fish down to my left, assuming, well, but that one particular lad in particular, assuming he is in my section, I need to be, you know, I need to be catching some fish now. At least putting one or two fish in the net. So I'm just going to whack a hook length on here. Same hook, the finesse feeder. Like I say, even if I don't catch anything on this, it is going to give me the opportunity to rest that long line. I'm obviously going to give this, you know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, see if we get any reaction on this. See, that was a little knock then, just a fast knock. So it looks like those little roach are there. Another indication there. So there are little roach on that line. But I'm going to give this a minimum of 15 minutes, regardless whether those little roach are there or not. It looks like they are there, so I might have to change hook bait to something a bit more robust, but I'm going to give this definitely 15 minutes before I even think about going on that long line again. I don't want to leave that long line too long, so if I do get a visit, then I want to be there when, you know, when the fish arrive. But 15 minutes I think it's enough time to just give it, you know, a bit of a rest. Not the fish that I'm after. So those fish are there on that short line as well. Just going to put a worm on now, something a bit more robust. Well, there are fish on that short line, but they're definitely not what I want to be catching. Well, we're into the final 90 minutes now, and it's just had 3 casts, and literally within 3 minutes I've had tiny little indications, and when I reel in, the bait's just flattened. So I can't put a maggot or a pinky on at all. Those little fish are still there. Just put a piece of worm on. This has been out there a couple of minutes. Like it's another skimmer. Another skimmer I really need to start catching now. Otherwise it's just going to be way too late to catch up. Other than just hoping for a couple of bream in the last few minutes, which I don't want to spend the next hour and a quarter hoping that that's going to happen. We're into the final 50 minutes and it's not happening. That was a little indication then. And in that last 30 minutes I've literally caught 2 tiny little roach. The thing is that the less time that is left, the more I need bigger fish to make the weight up. And I just don't know how I would catch a bigger fish today, because I've got to be absolutely honest with you. If I put a small bait on, those little roach are hitting it, and if I put a bigger bait on, that gets even more attention from small fish, and I don't catch anything. At least when I fish with little pieces of worm, I have caught, you know, most of the skimmers on that in between the little roach, so at least, you know, I was catching the odd fish. Yes, I see that might be that's another little fish. See, these are, you know, because it is a smaller bait, a smaller piece of worm, the fish can obviously swallow it and the hook, and so I'm catching the odd one. But by doing this, I think I stand a better chance of catching 1 or 2 skimmers like the ones that I've caught, which might, you know, get me an extra point or 2. Are you with me? I can't see how I'm going to beat the lad at the next peg, and certainly not the lad further down, because I think someone's just said he may have got £10. I haven't got anywhere near that. But obviously if I can catch, you know, a couple of pound of skimmers, you know, 2 or 3 skimmers, then whilst, you know, it's not going to be enough to win the section, it might be enough to get me a, you know, 2nd or a 3rd. I don't really know, like I said, what exactly has been caught. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend this last period now just on small pieces of worm and just take whatever comes along. Well, this is only my 2nd cast doing what I said. I was just thinking that it seemed as though those little fish had gone. I've only had 2 casts, but I just didn't seem to get any attention from roach. So I was starting to think, I wonder how long to leave it in now. If I'm going to be able to sit and wait a bit, you know, what sort of length of time should I be leaving it in now that I'm able to, if I'm going to be able to. And then this has been out there about 3 minutes, and as you can see, I'm into my biggest fish of the day by the looks of it. Well, let's hope that's a sign. I said that last time, didn't I? Last time I caught one. I think if there was little fish weren't there. Wow, he's lively. 1 or 2 of them if they came into the peg, but it's just you're not able to leave it that long because the little roach are getting to it quicker than they are. Well, this is the very next cast. Been out there a couple of minutes, same hook bait, no indications from small fish at all, no little rattles or anything like that, and it was another positive bite. The bites are completely different from the roach bites, you know straight away that they're different fish. 2 in 2. That's what we need, that's what we want. Similar to the last one. Get him in. What we got left, just over half an hour left. Be interesting to see if those little fish have gone, because it's one of them where you don't know if it's because those little fish have gone that you're able to catch 1 or 2 of these, or whether because these better fish are there, that's why the little fish have gone. Well, there's just 6 minutes left now. That last 25 minutes or so has gone incredibly fast, and I haven't had any fish either. 1 or 2 little indications. This is only a little fish, but I'm going to net it. Oh, how important these are going to be. The match was won yesterday by 2 or 3 ounce, I think it was. So it's the final 5 minutes or so now. I keep trying a bigger bait, but it just doesn't feel right at all. You know, it's frustrating, you know. With 30 minutes to go, I had those 2 fish in quick succession, and that was a little bit of a taster of the comeback. But it's obviously not materialised, unfortunately. That's an indication. Go on, go round. Nothing there. Nothing there. There's a minute left, a minute and a half. Is there a little roach on? No. I thought there was a little roach on then. Oh, that's annoying. The hook bait's still there. Let's get that back out there, see if we can, hopefully, let's see if we can hook something on this last cast. That'd be great if that went straight round now, wouldn't it? No, obviously now I wish I'd left that, but it looked exactly like those skimmer bites where it was just moving as though it was on, you know, as though they're hooked and they're doing that with their head. It could have been a little roach. Oh, was that the last chance? That's it. Oh, that's annoying. Again, another match where I've not caught one late. It'll be interesting to hear if there have been many fish caught late today again, like yesterday. Because some of the people that caught late yesterday were anglers that hadn't caught all day. You know, the late fish they caught was literally the only fish they caught. So at least I haven't been in that position where I've been blanking all day, but I don't really know what to say at this stage. Obviously I'd do things differently, but I'm going to be able to talk about that more accurately, I suppose, after I've seen the weigh-in. Thank you very much. Well, I don't know if I had 8 or 9 skimmers. Incredibly disappointed, I'll be absolutely honest. I think I beat 1 in the section. Ironically, it's Paul who's been on my left. Obviously his fish weren't quite as big as what I thought, but you know, I'm sticking my neck out now and just saying that I'll say 2 things. One is there definitely seems to have been more fish in the middle today. Just look at, I mean, I'll show you the weights. There's definitely been more fish down there caught, definitely. However, what there has been down there is a lot more pole anglers. The top weights that we've seen down there have been caught on the pole. So there have obviously been some fish short, but obviously with all those little roach, you know, you're never going to beat the pole anglers with a feeder when it's fishing like that. You're just not going to, especially in these conditions. It's very, very shallow. Even if you targeted them on a feeder, it's completely different. So I've had £7.12, Paul at next peg's had 7, then the next lad's had 8, and then the weights have got a bit bigger going that way. So regardless of what, you know, I think of my approach, these 3 pegs here have been the worst 3 weights. It doesn't look ideal like this in a corner. You know, we are bream fishing, you know, and you don't usually want to be in a corner, but you know, if there'd been a wind blowing in, I don't know if it would have been better or not. Chances are, even if I win my section tomorrow, that means I'm going to be on 6 points. I can't imagine 6 points is going to get in the frame. I really can't. But this is what happens, you know. This is fishing, especially bream fishing. So I'll put the full result up for you. I'm over there tomorrow on the east bank, the middle zone. So it's much more uniform over there. And yeah, obviously I want to finish on a section win, and I'd love to win the match, but I don't know how that's fished today. So I'm going to get some gear packed away. Dad's in the van. We're going to go for some fish and chips on the way home. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate you following me through this event, and please keep giving these videos thumbs ups if you'd like me to continue filming live matches. So I'm off home, going to get some hot food, and we go again tomorrow.